Welcome in. Brand new Wednesday live chat for this week's John Deere Classic. It is basically your time, right? Let's talk about it. Let's go through the questions, concerns, comments. Usually pertains to DFS, betting, one and done, golf stats, course stuff, whatever you want to talk about, drop it in the comments. I'll get through as many as I can. I don't think I have any other updates or anything to share for this week other than I hope everybody had a nice and safe fourth and I hope you're not back at work, but maybe you are back to work, like bored out of your mind and you're watching a little bit of YouTube. Okay, let's get started here. Any love for Kelly Craft this week? Asked Brandon. Best form in some time. And he's made 5 out of 5 cuts here. And then he says, thanks, Rick. I've had some huge scores since I integrated you and your site into my process. I appreciate that. It's good to hear. Here's Kelly Craft's stat profile. This is my website, RickRunGood.com. Everything you see is going to be from my site, giant database for golf betting and fantasy. So here's what we've got. He's definitely playing okay golf relative to himself. He's a decent putter. The approach play has been better than average. When he loses strokes, he does it because of lack of distance, not because of lack of accuracy. Accurate drivers of the golf ball have statistically had a very good level of success at this golf course compared to other golf courses. So I would say on its surface, if you're going to roll out Kelly Craft, this is like probably the best time to do it. Now, the other question is, should you? Do you have to roll out Kelly Craft? I guess it depends on what kind of lineup that you're making. I worry about what is his upside, right? Is it this T16 that we saw at Punta Cana where we have no idea what the strokes gain metrics were because they don't have lasers there? Is that the upside? Maybe it is. So I don't know if that's for me. I'd probably rather take on more risk for a little bit more reward. Also, I did add the courses to the golfer profile here. Obviously, as we're in major championship season, the courses rotate. So like if you click on majors, and I don't know how many majors Kelly Craft has played, but you can see the courses for all these events as well, which I thought was pretty handy. Hey, Rick, am I nuts to play Chesson Hadley this week? Was just outside the top 20 in my model. And his recent history at this event seems decent. Let's look together here. So 3 straight top 45s, average is 0 weeks on approach, good putting weeks. Let's look at his John Deere Classic stuff. Yeah, I mean, he puts it together at this place, at least in the last handful of years. It goes back across a couple. He hasn't played it every single year. Yeah, this is fine. I think it's like a 5.5 out of 10. Again, what's the upside, right? I think this depends a lot about how you plan on rolling him out. If you're looking to win all the money, I'm not sure Chesson Hadley is going to end up in the optimal lineup. If you're looking for someone to make the cut, if you're looking for somebody whose upside's T24, I think he's pretty reasonable. It's not a bad stat profile. I know they're not, but if Gehman and Aberg were the same salary for this week and you wanted them to fill your lineup, who are you taking? I'm a pretty big believer in both these guys, but I like what Gehman has been up to. The tee to green and ball striking metrics are back. The putter's been pretty decent. Aberg, I think, is going to be super talented, but he's super raw, right? So you're going to get a situation where he struggles on the weekend like he did at Detroit Golf Club. I will say this, and we haven't even gotten to the conversation about ownership yet. Aberg's actually going to be fairly low owned, it appears, which is a little bit more exciting. But you could put together a pretty strong case for being a little bit concerned about Aberg. Not long term. I think he's going to be an absolute star, right? But when you look at a birdie fest, and this guy's lost 3 or more strokes on approach in half of his last 6 starts. He's lost with the putter in 3 out of 4. That's not generally how you start piling up birdies. He's coming off a pretty tough weekend, and he's still trying to get his feet under him on the PGA Tour. I think he's going to be phenomenal. He's probably going to be the rookie of the year next year, but that's a little bit concerning to me, just kind of in the short term. Hey, Rick, on the course key stats model, approach putt performance ranks is one of the highest on this course. What exactly is that? Why do you think it's important here? So here's the course key stats model. You can see there's only 5 other courses in which a stat called approach putt performance is more correlated to success. So that is how close you hit your first putt that doesn't go in, right? So it's basically like lag putting. So if you're 40 feet away and you hit your first putt to 18 inches, it's 18 inches. And then they average that up every time you do that. And that's your approach putt performance. You generally see it more important and more correlated on courses with larger greens. When you get on larger greens, you get a higher 3-putt percentage. And this is kind of a stat that says, how often are you 3-putting, or how often are you kind of putting stress on that second putt? Why is it important here? Admittedly, I don't know. These are not large greens. They're probably average to maybe slightly above average. I don't think that they have any super big 3-putt numbers off the top of my head. So this could just be fairly random. It's why I separate kind of the better stats over here on the right, the things that are just much cleaner and much less noisy. And then I kind of put everything on the left-hand side just so that we can kind of see the full picture. Approach putt for performance is a pretty noisy stat in general, and to not have any other correlation here, I would not worry too much about it. Sam Ryder or Justin Lauer, in a vacuum, probably Ryder. Hey, Rick, I followed Aberg in person for a few holes on Friday last week, and it seemed like he was striking his long irons with more confidence than his wedges. Any data to support that? I would have to pull a shot-by-shot stuff, which I'm not going to waste everybody's time with now, but I can look into that for you. What is the best replacement stat for opportunities gained? I don't know if I should say this or not, Kyle, because I'm not quite done it yet. I have a solution, but I'm not sure I'm ready to share it just because I don't know when it's going to be on the website. But opportunities gained is an okay stat, right? It is how often does a guy give themselves a birdie look inside of 15 feet? And opportunities plus is how often does he give himself a birdie look inside of 10 feet? There's obviously some flaws there, but I'll have a solution for you, but I'm not quite ready to share it yet. Hey, Rick, our guys Carson Young and Dylan will keep playing above their price. Still lower price than some lower price compared to the strength of field, in my opinion. Give it another go. Yeah, I don't see why not, right? Carson Young, outside of the U.S. Open, has been a very good approach player, right? Basically multiple strokes on approach every event dating back to the Texas Open, outside of the 7.5 that he lost at the U.S. Open at LACC, which is like, who cares? The putting is always good. This is the type of event when you got to go low and you got to make a bunch of birdies. I love the connection of solid approach players and solid putters. That is a very high risk, high reward, volatile skill set. Think about that, right? Guys that, like Colin Morikawa. I shouldn't even say Colin Morikawa. He's not that great of a putter, but when both those things click, you hit a lot of darts and you make a lot of putts. The more safe stat profiles are your Rory McIlroys, your Jon Rahms, your Scotty Schefflers. Well, Scotty Scheffler does everything well, but like guys that drive it unbelievably give themselves a really solid floor because they get an opportunity to tee it up. They have a perfect lie every single time, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of different types of stat profiles. This one here, the approach plus putting stat profile, is a high upside profile. Dylan Wu, it's funny. He made an albatross at the Rocket Mortgage last week and still barely gained strokes on approach, which is, I think, a little bit concerning. He's been a bit reliant on the short game categories as of late, but I still think he is a little bit mispriced. And when he gets in the mix, he plays really well. He's got a bunch of top 25 finishes. It's kind of hard to argue with that. Okay. So I saw a couple, I'm going to lump a couple questions of these together. So we've got, I believe he pronounces it Mao, William Mao, or I don't know if he goes by Bill Mao, Mauw. I don't have much data on him, right? So RickRunGood.com tracks six tours: PGA, Korn Ferry, Senior, European Tour, Live, and the Asian Tour. I only have 4 events on him, and it's basically this summer on the Korn Ferry, and he's played really well. Right, he hasn't lost strokes to the field. He finished T17 last week at the Memorial Health. This is going to be basically the weakest field of the year. Actually, I should probably look that up before I commit to saying that. It's not going to be the weakest of the year, but it is going to be, let's see, a 194 in strength of field. So as I load this, my point being that if you're ever willing to take a risk on these guys who play on the Korn Ferry or who don't usually play in some of the top tier competition, this is probably the place to do it. So a 194 is going to be this OWGR website is just heinously bad. Well, I think it froze on me. I'll try to grab it for you. We'll see what 194 is. Come on. Such a bad website. We're losing our momentum here. All right. Filter, PGA Tour. Apply filters. but then it doesn't let me sort. It doesn't let me do anything after that. All right. It's less than the Rocket Mortgage. It's less than the Canadian Open. It's less than the Byron Nelson. Byron Nelson was a 210. It's going to be pretty bad. Rick, just curious, how long did it take start to finish to get your data site up and running? I mean, I was building it on the side for like 4 years, just constantly trying to make it better before I did it full time. So, I mean, it's been 7 years since day one to right now. I think if I knew everything that I knew right now and had to start from scratch, I could probably do it again in a year, maybe 6 months. I don't know. The hardest part is just getting the data. Getting the data is in this environment is pretty impossible. So that would be the hardest part. But other than that, I think I could probably do it again in like 6 or 12 months. In a 4-person one and done, 4 million back from first, but 800K ahead of third. Grillo or Henley. Third has already used Henley. Probably Grillo, assuming that the guy in first is probably going to use either Henley or Denny McCarthy. Is Chris Kirk's performance last week encouraging enough that he can make enough birdies to compete this week? Okay, let's look, Scott. So here's Chris Kirk from last week. Striped it, right? Knocked the cover off the ball, gained 6.5 strokes, ball striking. Didn't even really putt it all that well. In fact, he hasn't even really been putting it all that well. I think this is pretty encouraging, right? I mean, what I like about Chris Kirk is the upside. You know, he doesn't always play well. He's not John Rahm. But when he does, you can get 6, 7, 8, 9 strokes from tee to green, and he's generally a pretty positive tee to green player. And then you can get some weeks where the putter cooperates. Being able to finish T14 and losing a stroke putting is generally positive. So I would say yes, I do think that Chris Kirk could play well this week. Hey Rick, love the content as always. Best in the biz, thanks. Quick question: last 6 winners of the John Deere Classic played the week before in PGA events. Do you see any relevance to this? No, Ron. So anytime someone sends me a trend like this, I always ask the same exact question. I ask, how is that compared to other events? And most times people don't have the answer to it, right? They say, oh, I don't know. I don't think anyone has ever said, oh, here's the answer. Because let's think about this logically. Why would the last 6 winners play the week before? Is it because the guys who play in the John Deere play a lot? Is it because the guys in the John Deere have to play the week before? The last 6 winners, what are there events out there where the last 12 winners do? You know, is that a lot? Is that a little? So I would say in general, this means nothing without any more context. Who's your top chalk to eat and avoid? So here's the cheat sheet, Jeffrey. And guys that are chalky at the top, 21% Denny McCarthy, 22% Russell Henley. Probably just avoiding both of these guys. I would prefer I would prefer McCarthy a little bit, but I do not think a 21 and 22% ownership on those guys is worth it when you can get Ludwig and Cam Young at a fraction of it, 7 and 9. Cam Young, you know, I don't know what's going to pop up here, but let's just look at the last 100 rounds anywhere in the world. Cam Young might be the best player in this field, right? Like long term, he's the 5th best player in this field. Montgomery, McCarthy, Moore, Eric Cole, Cam Young. And I bet you if we get rid of Korn Ferry Tour, let's see what happens. Cam Young moves up a spot. Taylor Moore drops. Let's get rid of, none of these guys would have a significant amount of it. But yeah, like he's arguably the best player in this field at a fraction of the ownership. The other guys that I would not want to eat the chalk on, the 16% Taylor Moore. I love Taylor Moore, but when you gain like 10 strokes putting last week or 9 strokes putting last week, whatever he did, 10, this is not great. And this is now 4 straight starts in which I worry about this stat profile. So that would not be chalk that I would eat. And then I would probably not eat Dylan Wu either. I mean, 20% at $7,500 when you've got Peter Quest, when you've got Michael Kim, even SH Kim isn't like the worst play in the world. I can't imagine doing that. Rick, of your Monday through Wednesday shows and the 2 first cut shows, do you look forward? Wow. Which do you look forward to every week? And any early thoughts on the Open? Not really. I'll get to the Open here shortly. I think I'm about to, like, once this John Deere tees off, I'll be in like Scottish time zone. I'll be in Scotland. I'll have that. I'll be overseas in my brain, right? So I'll start getting prepped for those two events. I mean, this is probably my favorite. You know, this is an I'm entirely independent in a casual environment where I get to mess around with the tools and answer questions and engage for however long that I want. You know, the DF and I have as much information as I'm going to have because it's Wednesday. The DFS preview on Monday I love because it's just like, you know, the flagship show and I get to do it and salaries are out and it's exciting. I love chatting with the guys on the first cut, but like this Wednesday show is probably my favorite if I was to do it like that. Can we do a deep dive on Michael Kim? Yeah, we probably owe him one. Take a look at what we can find here. So here we go. Lost 3 strokes on approach in each of his last 2 starts. That's a little bit discouraging, but he was pretty good on approach before that. Driver's okay. Putter's good. I mean, so really all we're asking him to do, and what's his ownership going to be? Is he going to be popular? I hope not, right? 5%. This is not a bad buy spot, right? He's won this event before, obviously, but it was a very strange record-setting win out of nowhere, and then he missed a bunch of cuts. He's actually playing way better golf now than he was when he won this event. All you're asking him to do is basically hit his second shots like he has been for the last 6 months. That's the ask, which I don't think is all that unfair. So I think it's a pretty decent buy spot for Michael Kim. If we were looking at a stat profile where he was off of his baseline in multiple different categories, I'd be a little bit concerned. This chat's jumping around on me, so let me see if I can find my spot here. Who are the top guys in bonus putting and which of them are accurate off the tee? Okay, so bonus putting is an interesting little stat. And by the way, I just tweeted this out about an hour ago. I said, like, if you could invent a golf stat, what would it be? There's a couple reasons for that. One, I think it's just interesting. 2, we are definitely in a time where you can invent golf stats, right? Like 20 years ago in baseball is where we're at right now in golf in terms of analytics and metrics and all that stuff. There's still stuff being invented. And selfishly, for the last couple of years, like I've been collecting all this shot by shot data and I finally have like the computing power to do a lot of fun things with it. So I am interested to see what you guys want, basically. So you can email me, you can go reply to that Twitter thread, but we are in an era where you can invent a golf stat. Bonus putting is a relatively new one. It is actually technically an official PGA Tour stat. So what it is I think off the top of my head, it is how many putts do you make inside of 5 feet? And then how many do you make outside of 20? And the idea being that you make all the putts that you should, and you make more putts than your peers on ones that you are not a favorite to make. It's pretty interesting. And they call it bonus putting. So bonus putting and driving accuracy. So I'm just going to put weights on 50% of my weights on both of those. Zach Johnson, Adam Hadwin, Brendan Todd, Adam Long, Carson Young, Bryce Garnett, David Lingmerth, Kelly Craft, Denny McCarthy, Chris Stroud. Kind of makes sense, right? Think about Adam Hadwin. What does Adam Hadwin do well? Drives it accurately, puts his brains out. Brendan Todd, same. Adam Long, same. Carson Young, probably one of the better approach players of this group. So yeah, it makes sense when you start looking at it. I like it. Can we do a deep dive on SH Kim? Sure. He's not been playing as well as I would have liked, and he is hemorrhaging strokes on approach. Now 8 consecutive events in which he's lost on approach. He's not putting very well. He drives it okay, but I think he's just like he's not very long, is he? He's like an accurate guy. He doesn't have enough stats here. I like him on, I mean, this is a course that is going to play into wedge territory, which I don't mind, but this is pretty concerning to not have success at TPC River Highlands, which should have been a pretty good setup for him. This does not feel particularly great. For DFS purposes, do you prefer Kirk over Cole? No, I think I still prefer Cole there. Moore or Grillo? Grillo for me. Which 2 golfers are you starting your DFS lineup with this week? If I had to just pick 2 to start with, I would probably say I wouldn't mind if you went like Cam Young, Emiliano Grillo. You could get 2 legitimate winning threats for like combined 21%, which I think is fun. Can we get a deep dive on Nick Taylor? Yeah, Nick Taylor's not much has changed, I don't think. I think he's been pretty consistent for the most part here. Obviously, he gets that win at the RBC Canadian Open, misses the cut in LA. That's the last time we saw him. Wraps a win in Canada in between a bunch of missed cuts, which, is a little bit weird, but he's just kind of an above average golfer who can get hot. I think it's always going to be a little bit difficult to figure out which weeks Nick Taylor is going to play well, right? He doesn't really trend. Like, you can kind of see it, right? It's just like plays okay, hot. Then he plays okay, and he plays okay, and he plays okay. Then he gets hot. Like, I don't know if this is super predictable in the way that he plays, which is a little bit unfortunate because it means we don't have a lot of them. Thanks, Rick, for the deadly content. Oh, thank you. Who's the safest to keep me? I'm in a 36. I'm leading a 36-man one and done. If I were you, I would just play Denny. I think that you are splitting hairs between a lot of these guys. I think that Denny is proving that he is safe enough, right? I mean, look at these great finishes this year. If you go back to, let's just go to the start of 2023 and let's just look at a couple of items here. Let's go to January 1st, 2023. Best player in this field, Denny McCarthy. Nick Taylor's number 2, Eric Cole's number 3. There's only 7 guys that have gained over a stroke per round. That's number 1. Number 2, let's go to strokes gain distribution here and look at the last 50 rounds and look at the top of the board and how often they are gaining strokes to the field. Denny McCarthy gains strokes to the field more frequently than anybody. He gains 1 or more to the field, more than Aberg, more than Cam Young. He gains 2 or more than both those guys. So I think he is the best option for both floor and ceiling. Yeah, I did answer that already, but I like that Kyle says we're at that point in the chat where we're asking about Chess and Hadley. Yeah, I agree. Would you go with Denny, Hadwin, or Shank top 50 in one and done? I would go with Denny. Who is a good shot at being first round leader? What I would do if I were you, Robin, is look at this strokes gain distribution right here. Look at guys that gain 5 strokes to the field more frequently than their peers. Batia, McCarthy, Eric Cole, Eric Van Rooyen, Adam Hadwin. Adam Hadwin's probably a pretty good bet. You could also cross-reference with guys that play round 1 better than normal. So we could go to round 1 here. Where is, who did I say? Where's Adam Hadwin? Ooh. Adam Hadwin, a bit of a slow starter, is he? Hold on. Let me just confirm this. Yeah, Adam Hadwin, a bit of a slow starter. Although recently he's been crushing. He actually had a bumpy road here, but he has gained strokes in the opening round in 6 straight, and 3 of them have been at least 3.6 strokes. I'm going to say Adam Hadwin. Excuse me for 1 second. I don't want to choke on anything like I did a couple weeks ago. Is this the only realistic shot to bet Zach Johnson? If someone is like holding you hostage and forcing you to bet Zach Johnson this year, you should do it here. If you're not being held against your will, you should not bet Zach Johnson. That's just how I feel. Thoughts on Kevin Yu this week? My thoughts on Kevin Yu are generally going to be the same every single week. He is likely to be pretty decent on approach and be a very, very, very bad putter. And when you are a very, very, very bad putter and you lose strokes on approach like you did at the Rocket Mortgage, you're cooked and you miss the cut. So that's the assessment. It's like, are you going to get anything close to a good putting week from Kevin Yu? And it's going to be impossible to understand. Lauer or Ramey is Lauer for me. How do you feel about starting your lineups with Cam Young and Aberg? It's very exciting. What do you have left? Probably not great. Thoughts on Grayson Murray? Yeah, you know what? He had a very good Corn Ferry start recently. Yes, a couple of them actually. So he won this event in May, finished T3 in June, has made 2 cuts in a row, did miss the cut at the Canadian Open, but it was the cut on the number. I think this is okay. I think you could roll out Grayson Murray, and I don't think I've ever said this, with some level of confidence relative to his price, right? We talked about the weak field here. I think that's okay. On Yahoo, Ludwig is the stone min. Take the value, or does this screen pivot? At what point, if any, does the value overtake game theory, since this is the John Deere Game Theory Classic? That's true. If he's the stone min, I think you just load him up. In a contest where you also then have to pick 5 other guys on Yahoo. They still do 6, right? I would just load up there and pivot other places, in my opinion. What do we think of Nick Hardy? Okay, we can do a little bit of a dive on Hardy. I think I'm generally pretty cool on him, but has he done anything to change that tune? Not really, right? I mean, the only positive is he's probably excited to be there because he's from Illinois, right? But the game is generally slight positive off the tee, generally negative on approach, not very good around the green, and the putters all over the place. Don't like it. I'm sure he's played here before. He's made the cut 3 times, including last year, but I bet you he was playing a lot better last year. Let's look. John Deere. Right. Am I crazy? Have I scrolled past it? Oh, I haven't scrolled far enough. Yeah, I mean, he was coming in off of a runner-up at the Korn Ferry, a 14th at the U.S. Open, a T8 at the Travelers, and then he went to John Deere. Not playing anywhere near that right now. All right, I'm going to start motoring through a couple of these here because I am seeing some repeats, which is fine. Top 3 golfers in the 6K range. So for me, let's do it like this. We'll get rid of these other guys. I think that Grayson Sig is fine. I think that Marty Dow is kind of interesting. And I think that I thought I had somebody down here in the 65 range. Who am I missing? I guess Grayson Murray would have to be the third. It's pretty bad. Sig, Murray, and Marty Dow, I think, are the answers to that question. My betting card, and again, I'll let everybody know. Don't bet somebody because I bet them. Go spend your own money. But what I bet was 2 guys at 30, Grillo and Jaeger, Glover at 75 on Monday, and then Reevy at 60. And I'll just have at it with that. Who are you betting your mortgage on to win? Would not bet my mortgage on anybody to win this. At what point can you say your channel influences ownership percentage? Likely not even close. I wish, but I doubt it. I generally, so I don't know if we've shown this, PJ, but like if you held me down and made me pick somebody that I think is going to win, I think Emiliano Grillo has a really good chance. So he's playing great golf, right? Won a couple of starts ago, T15 at the Travelers. The approach numbers are there. The putting stuff's really good. I showed this earlier this week. I don't know if I tweeted this or if I sent this out in my newsletter. By the way, I sent out my newsletter yesterday. Go subscribe. RickRunGood.com/newsletter. It's literally free. And I just send out like stat nuggets in your email. It's like pretty wild. So since the Players Championship, which I understand is a very specific time frame, but since the Players Championship, Emiliano Grillo is like the I don't want first round. Hold on a second. Since the Players, Emiliano Grillo is like the 5th best putter in this field. Yeah, right here, which is wild considering his career is basically an arc of him losing constantly with the flat stick. So I think I like him to get it done. Hey, Rick, love your content. Thank you. Should I build more balance this week or stars and scrub? The way that I look at this, okay. So there's obviously a difference between like, I like the way Denny sets up for this. Russell Henley's going to be fine. But if you think I'm playing a significant portion of them at 21 and 22%, I think I'm not going to be there for that. So the way that I look at this, I think it's a pretty easy case to be made to just not start or not pick a guy in the 10K range. And start building some more balanced lineups with like Shank, Grillo, Smalley, Jaeger, Cole, Hadwin. Just have these guys that are all like 12 to 16%. Have them kind of be the kind of staples in your lineup, and then find a couple of guys, 2 guys in every lineup that are going to be, much lower owned. My proposal: demolish Augusta National and play the Masters every year at TPC Deere Run. What could possibly go wrong? One and done, 90th out of 600. Everyone available but Denny, Henley, Hadwin. I've whittled it down to Cole, Shank, or Grillo. I would probably play them Grillo, Cole, Shank. Front running one and done. I have everybody available except Cam Young. I want to kind of stay safe and choose a popular guy. Okay. So this is the one and done ownership projections, which have Denny as like by far the most popular guy, 25%. Basically 2 weeks in a row, we're going to get a guy at 25% owned. Russell Henley, 15, Shank, 11, Adam Hadwin, 11. I don't mind Hadwin in a lot of one and dones. I obviously do not mind Grillo. I obviously do not mind Cam Young. And that is basically it. You should be playing one of those guys in most situations. What is considered around the green? If someone hit a driver in a par 4 near the green, is the second shot approach or around the green? Okay. So if a player hits every green in regulation and there is no around the green, there just is no around the green. It happens, right? Or if you go and look, after 2 holes and the guy hits the first 2 greens, he just does not have an around the green number. Around the green is a counting stat. It's just, if you have 100 attempts or no attempts, it's all, doesn't matter. I believe the way the tour does it now is anything within 40 yards of the green is around the green, unless it's your second shot into a par 4 or third into a par 5, I believe. So if you remember, Bryson broke this at the Rocket Mortgage a couple years ago. He did what you were describing, Jeff. He was driving it within 40 yards of the green. Then he was hitting so then it was counting his approach numbers. Wait, let me think about this. As around the green, or it was thinking his drives were his approaches and that he had missed the green. So he was getting like insane off I don't know. It was something weird, but I think they went back and fixed that. Have you ever thought about looking at strokes gained from a median perspective to accurately judge a golfer's performance, especially in a small sample size? Yes. How do I get my girlfriend to like watching golf? I would start by, this is what I've learned. Start with a couple of things. Number one, have it be a nap time. All right. Associate watching golf as a casual, fun, hey, we're on our phones, we're watching golf, we're eating popcorn, we're taking a nap, fun stuff on the couch. Then you work your way into, you could watch Full Swing. You say, a little bit of drama here. You could Full Swing on Netflix. You got to get her invested in some golfers. The likely candidates would be like Adam Scott. I've heard Cam Young is very attractive. She's got to start liking some of these guys. Then I actually think if you can graduate past that, get her in a one and done. Armina she cares. She was so upset. First off, she was so upset when she forgot to put in a pick at the PGA and she meant to put in Brooks Koepka. But when she had Ricky Fowler last week and she was like texting me how like, oh, he made it. Oh, is this idiot going to blow it? Blah, blah, blah. So work your way up that way. Headset. What's your head, heart, and money? Well, my money, I guess Lucas Glover winning would be great. Any Glover, Grillo, Jaeger, Reeve winning would be great. My head says it is probably Grillo. I think we've already talked about that. And who do I want to win? I think I just want like Denny to win would be cool. Hey, Rick, how many people start the question with, hey, Rick, over under 50%? Probably take the over. You didn't like Finau last week. Who is it that you don't like as much as most do this week? Well, I described I don't think he's going to be super popular, obviously, or not nearly as popular as Ludwig Aberg, or excuse me, not nearly as popular as Tony Finau. But I do think that there are realistic concerns in Aberg's stat profile for this week that other people like a lot. I think. I don't know if there is a guy this week, and I don't know if there has to be, right? I guess it's Taylor Moore. You know, if you're one of the 5 or 6 highest owned guys, and you've got 3 straight missed cuts, and then you gain 10 strokes, and now people want to play you, it's kind of out on me. Oh, deep dive on Chipotle's chicken al pastor. I have not had it. Yeah, I usually do. I usually do the sofritas or. I haven't had the chicken al pastor. I'll have to check it out. Can you talk about who the public is betting the most? I usually get an email from like BetMGM or like Caesars or somebody like that. I'll try to tweet it out if I remember when I get the email. Usually says what their biggest liabilities are, what percentage of tickets have come in. I just don't have it handy. Hey, Rick, I know Ricky's win last week probably hurt Denny's chances at the Ryder Cup, but if he wins a Birdie Fest this week, I think he's a great selection. It's going to be really tough for him to make the team, I think. I think he'd be great on the team. I think he's a great clubhouse guy. I think having a really good putter on the team, I think the way they're probably going to set up the golf course might not be bad for him. I also think that he is truly showing us that he is improving across the board. I just think the U.S. is way too deep. He's probably not going to be a captain's pick, so he's going to have to earn his way on. So let's see where he's at in the rankings right now. He's 14th, but like he's gonna probably have to get to 6 because I don't think he's a captain's pick. So I think it's unlikely. I would really like it. Middle of the pack and one and done. Is Cam Young the best game theory choice even without much form? Yes. Does anyone know where I can look up ownership percentages? The cheat sheet on RickRunGood.com or the custom model has them both. The group thing seems absurdly through the roof this week. Maybe the week to blindly fade the chalk. It's not bad. Definitely back at work, bored and watching YouTube. Feel you. What would the match play score between you and Klay Thompson be? I actually think I would beat Klay Thompson. I mean, what is he, like a 12, 14, 15? And no, I mean, you put the lights on this guy on the golf course, just melts. I would beat Klay in 18 holes. I would win. I don't think I'd crush him. Like he's got some. I'd be nervous. 4-2. Well, I guess that's kind of a beatdown. 3-2. Can we see a model based on short wedges, 75 to 150 or so, some putting, and birdie or better opportunities gained? All right. Yeah. So I'm just going to do exactly what you said, right? So let's clear this out before I screw anything else up. All right. So short wedges, putting, birdie or better opportunity. Okay. So let's say 20% on each one of these things. So let's do approach on 70. So you said 75 to 150 or so. So let's do 8, 8, and 8. So that's 8, 16, 24. Then let's do some putting, bent grass, and 10 to 15 feet. Actually, I probably have to ramp those up then because the way I misinterpreted that first thing. So I'll add these up a little bit, and then we'll do birdie or better / opportunities gained. Let's do opportunities gained and say 15 there. Best player in the field, Eric Cole, Chris Kirk, Adam Hadwin, Brendan Todd, Christian Bezanho, JT Poston, Hadley, Henley, Baddeley, Hank Lebioda. This actually isn't a bad question. Is Cam Young the best leverage play we've seen all year? I mean, 3 months ago, he would have been like 6 to 1 in this field, right? And he's played okay. And the only thing we need to come back is the putter. And people are treating him like he's toxic. Any notables using the Odyssey Jailbird this week? Probably everybody, honestly. Thoughts on an off-season trophy breakdown and rating show? That would be cool. I would like that. I want to buy replicas of all the trophies. Actually, I just found last night, I saw somebody has a really good replica Wanamaker, but I don't think it's technically a replica because I think it's probably only like 10 inches instead of 30 or whatever. Leading a one and done? You should just play Denny. I mean, the problem is like, it's going to suck, right? You're going to play Denny. Most people who are leading or who are front running are going to play Denny or Henley. I swear one of them's going to win and one of them's going to miss the cut. There's basically no gap between them. I prefer Denny a little bit, but like from a strokes game perspective, for the last 36 rounds, they're like almost identical players. It's going to be annoying when one of them significantly outperforms the other. I'm going to try to mix it up with a little bit of diverse questions here. Because a lot of these are pretty similar at this point, which is okay. Hubbard missed the cut last week by bogeying the last two holes. Oh, each of the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I know. That's probably not going to happen again. Do you think Zach Johnson chose to play with Denny McCarthy for an eye for the Ryder Cup? Maybe. You think it's kind of BS that they can choose who to play with, right? Right? Luke Donald chooses to play with Ludwig Aberg last week. Why don't you just let everybody choose who they want to play with? The tee time, the crooked PGA Tour and their tee times, that's the biggest scam. I cannot believe that I know why. I know why they put all the star players together for television, all that stuff. I know. I get it. I get why it's done. But theoretically, it is the least fair aspect of golf, right? That they're not random tee times, and that Rory McIlroy has never played at 6:45 in the morning, and that Rory has to play with stars all the time. Play better. I know. Whatever. I'm just saying. We've done a lot of ownership stuff. Do you bet matchups? And if so, what's your process in finding them? I basically just go to this tool right here, which is a head-to-head matchup tool on RickRunGood.com. I put in the last 36 rounds. I put two different golfers against each other, and it tells me what the line should be and what the likelihood of each golfer beating the other is. So watch this. Let's do Denny and Henley. Last 36. Awesome. 50.2% Henley, 49.8 Denny. It's going to be sick. One of these guys is going to win. One is going to miss the cut. And they are so close at the top. So close at the top. I will just reiterate my thoughts on Jaeger from earlier this week, which is essentially he has played the vast majority of his rounds recently really well. And he has only essentially struggled for one round each week. Okay, so you're going to see that here, right? Lots of green, and then one bad round, loses 5, loses 4, loses 6.5, whatever. I believe that it is easier to clean up the bad round than it is to get more good rounds. So I'm in on Jaeger. Oh, I should have done the weather stuff. I did not really see much here. There will be, it looks like if you believe the forecast, there will be wind moving in, a little bit more wind moving into the area on Thursday, but it's going to go from like 5 miles an hour to 11. And it's kind of right in the middle, right? It's almost like it's going to happen at the end of the morning wave and the start of the afternoon wave, but then it's going to die down again. So I would hesitate to say it's going to impact one wave over the other. I think it might be a hair windier on Thursday afternoon, but again, it's not like it's 30 miles an hour. It's difference. It's like a 5 mile an hour difference. And then the rest of Friday and everything looks pretty clean. So I don't think there's a move to make there. DL knows what he's doing. He says, can you flash the good luck, bad luck putting one? Yeah. Peter, by the way, we haven't really talked about Peter Quest. Peter Quest is very interesting for this week, right? So you want to be in the upper left-hand quadrant here. If you're not in the upper left-hand quadrant, you want to be in the upper right-hand quadrant. If you're not there, you want to be in the bottom left. If you're not there, you're in the bottom right and you're in big trouble. Peter Quest, right? Pops up, plays well last week, almost gets special temporary membership status. We don't have a lot of data on him, but the data that we have on him is really good, right? Canadian Open, he finished T57, but he struck the hell out of it. Byron Nelson, T14, hit it well again. Missed the cut to Texas Open. But like that's a pretty solid 4-tournament stretch this year on the PGA Tour. And he is very close to capturing his tour card via special temporary membership status. Hey, Rick, are you a good golfer? I'm okay. Highest owned player to miss the cut. Taylor Moore. 16% owned. Or actually, realistically, Dylan Wu could miss the cut. For all of Dylan Wu's things that I love about him, he does miss the cut a lot, right? I mean, he's missed the cut 3 of his last 6 starts. So I think Dylan Wu or Taylor Moore will be the highest owned guy to miss the cut. Are you playing the Powerball tonight? No, but I'm sure my dad is. So if he wins, I will hopefully get a couple bucks. Is there a worse name for a golfer than Shank? It's the NBA equivalent of a player being named Joe Airball or a major league hitter being named Joe Strikeout. Isn't there a pitcher in Major League Baseball named Outman? Outman? So good. So good. Is setting max salary at 49.1 and using 16 to 20% chalk golfers different enough? Oh, yeah. Yeah. People who are hand building lineups will never go to 49.1. Do you think a lot of lineups? What do you think of lineups ending in Quest and Moore? So already talked about Quest. Moore is so someone asked the question, like, if you were ever going to play Zach Johnson, isn't this the spot? The same goes for Ryan Moore, right? Who is not as good as he used to be, which is fine. Still deadly accurate off the tee. Still a positive approach player nearly every single week. Not a lot, 1 to 2 strokes per event. And even when he was in his decline, he has always played well here. T24 last year, runner-up the year before, T18 in 2019. I bet you if I just ran, I guess I could just do this, right? Now I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Let's just do those 3 years, 2022, 2021, and 2019. I'm going to assume his best events during that stretch are here. Yeah. The 2021 John Deere is his 3rd best start in the last 5 years. The 2019 is like his 7th best or 9th best and 11th best. So all 3 of those are within like his best. So what I'm getting at is even when he's not playing well, he's able to show up here. I had a vivid dream and Russell Henley misses the cut. That would be great. Favorite play under $7,500. It might be Peter Quest at 4%. It would have been Callum Tarrant, but he's up to 12% now. In a vacuum with no ownership, the answer is probably Lucas Glover. One of those guys, depending on what you're looking for. Hey, Rick, first in the one and done by a narrow margin, and we have to pick 2 this week. Okay, you should play Grillo and either Jaeger, Cole, or Reavie. If I were you, I'd probably play Grillo and Reavie. Not super thrilled about it, but that's what I would do. How far down from the top of the pricing in DraftKings are you comfortable fading? The top two guys. I don't want to fade Denny, but at 22%, I don't love it. And then Russ, same thing. What happened to the JT Poston we saw last year? I don't know, man. Hasn't been good. Oh, I was like, yeah, it has been, but I'm sorted by his best events. Holy crap, that scared me for a second. I was like, wait a minute, has he won like every event in his last couple? Realistically, so honestly, there were times where Poston was kind of that approach putt player that we talked about. But he has gone through long stretches of struggling in both of those. Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of losing all over the place, right? He's losing off the tee, he's losing on approach, losing a lot around the green, and the putter is not as nearly as good as it used to be. So it's just kind of a tricky little pickle there. Was listening to VSiN on radio yesterday, Long Shot Show. They gave you multiple shout outs. Obviously, they use your model. They're good guys. Yep. What's your best round ever? I shot at 75. But that was a while ago. Recently, I think I shot a 78 at Bears Best. Was it 78? There's a vlog on it. I vlogged it. Actually, they're on this YouTube channel right now. If you go under playlists and go under golf vlogs, the one at Bears Best, I shoot like a 75 or a 78 or something like that. Are you familiar with Underdog's single round draft format? 6-person snake, take 6 golfers each. How much? I'm not that familiar with it. I'd have to get accustomed to it. Okay. David says, when do we get to see Rick back out on the course? Enjoyed those videos. I appreciate it. Listen, I tend to bite off more than I can chew. And I do a lot of stuff because I like it and I think it's cool. And then, I've got to actually figure out the best use of my time. What I really would love to do, is I would love to do the vlogs, but not year round, right? Like I'm not going to be good or I'm not going to pump on course. I've got a full-time job, right? Like I'm not going to pump content like that every week. What I would love to do though, is almost do like a season. So like a season of 8 episodes and they all have a theme, whether we're traveling to TPC courses or tour courses, or whether we're just doing desert golf or just doing whatever, right? I would love there to be a theme. I could knock out all the rounds in a couple of weeks and then edit them and release them over a couple of months. That would be my goal. And I think that would be really, really cool. What I would love is like a sponsor, like just to so I don't lose like 10 grand on this, right? Like I just need somebody to pay for the rounds of golf and some travel. I don't need to make money on it. I just don't want to lose 10 or 15K on it. But other than that, that's kind of the only thing. That and time. Did you ever get your hands on a Tony Finau bobblehead? Yes, I believe it is en route. Thank you very much. The community is very, very good. Can't wait for Rick Run Good NFL date. It's going to be stellar. You might be waiting. You might be waiting a long time. Who are your 2 favorite long shots to make the top 10? Lucas Glover and Callum Tarrant. Ooh, I'm getting course recommendations. Okay. All right. I ran through those questions. Let me do a couple of things real quick here. I want to show this question because I think it is worth talking about a guy in Keith Mitchell that was super popular, a couple of months ago. Obviously, very popular guy, but I wanted to show that stat profile. Phenomenal off the tee. You're never going to hear any doubts there. The problem that I have, I want look at where he's driving it well. Places that being long and straight is really valuable, right? LACC, he's going to gain a ton of strokes off the tee at LACC. Canadian Open at Oakdale, Muirfield, Oak Hill, Quail Hollow, even Harbortown to an extent, Bay Hill, these places where it's just long, straight. I'm not sure that's a super valuable skill set here. Obviously it is, but he's not going to be like this course doesn't box out the short guys. In fact, driving accuracy has been very correlated to success. So these shorter guys, I think, are going to be just fine. So I believe that Mitchell's asset gets a little bit stunk here. skunked here. I don't know what I was looking for. And then he's been an awful approach player. So that would be pretty pretty troublesome for me. The other thing is okay. I did want to do this. I wanted to pull this up real quick before we get out of here, because I get a lot of questions about this and I always forget to just show it live, and I'll just show you how to do it. Right. Let me just see if we've got this here. Okay. So Jock Market is stock market DFS, where you bid on shares of golfers. So I'm just going to join this right now. And is this open for bidding right now? I think it is, right? Can I bid on this right now? Okay. So watch this. So let's say, for example, who are those long shots that I said? Lucas Glover, and you'd go to Glover, you'd click his name. You have this suggested price for him tonight, which is $5.18, which means he'd have to finish 32nd or better. So I'm going to put in 10 shares of Lucas Glover at $5.18. And tonight, when this IPO closes, we'll know if I got those, or I can come back and keep bidding, right? So all he has to do is outperform his expectation. I think this week is a really good week for this, because like I'll put another bid on Peter Quest, like $4 a share, 20 shares on Peter Quest. He has to finish 42nd or better. Now, someone might outbid me on that, but I can come back and bid. And then you build a portfolio and you get paid out on that. The code is Rick. There's a link in the description. We're going to do a Jock Market Power Hour tonight. That code will give you a $100 deposit bonus. It's a sick little game to run alongside your one and dones, run alongside your DFS lineups, all that fun stuff. It's just a different way to do it. So I'm enjoying it a lot. All right. I'm starving, and I've got to go do the first cut in an hour and do a mega preview pod. So I'm going to put a pin in this here. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Go sign up for RickRunGood.com. Go sign up for Jock Market. Goodbye.